the best one I have in mind is mixing up the word kosten and kotzen. The first one is kosten is the amount that you pay is how much it costs, and the other one is throw up.
Welcome to Expat Life Germany. I'm your host, Sean Behrens. This week's guest is originally from France, and he moved here to Nuremberg in Germany to be with his wife, his German wife. He's involved in software development and hosts a podcast called Software Developers Journey. You can find the link in the show notes, and if you're in the software industry at all, you definitely should be listening to that podcast. He comes in several flavors, as he puts it on his website, also in the show notes. He's an agile coach, a chief learning officer, a mentor, and a public speaker. And what's interesting is he's a French person, but he gives public talks in German. So it just gives you an idea of the level that his German is at. And in our interview, he talks about learning German. He talks about his decision to become a German citizen and how it was a practical one. He covers how to make friends with Germans and much more. It was a great chat, and I think you'll enjoy it too. Here's Tim. You're going to have to help me with your last name because I am notoriously bad at saying French surnames.
Oh, it's a typical French name. It's called Bourguignon, which basically means from the Bourgogne region.
Okay, Bourguignon. So, Tim, it was great when I was setting up this interview with you because you, when we were arranging the interview, you said, I can only do it once the kids are down in bed. And I was like, yes, it's the same for me. I have to kind of organize my podcast interviews around after the bedtime.
Yeah, that's basically my nightlife. I record podcast interviews as well between 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. or something like this.
Yeah, and it's. I feel like it's. Do you ever get the feeling that you've got like a weird alter ego when everyone else goes to sleep, then Tim the podcaster comes out? Because that's how I feel.
Absolutely, this is my nightlife. I really have a double life.
So before we get to how you landed up in Germany, I want to start with what you actually do for a living. And just going through your blog and all the things that I was able to find about you online in a non-creepy, non-stalking way, you seem to be a person of many talents and projects. And according to your blog, which is called Auswanderer Quatsch, which translates as foreigner nonsense, I guess you could say.
Yes, kind of.
You describe yourself as coming in 4 flavors, which is mentoring, advocate, chief learning officer, public speaker, and agile coach. So just give me your background and what it is that you do.
So basically, I'm an engineer from my university background, and I've worked in the IT for the past 15 years, and I slowly moved away from writing code to organizing people who write code. And this has been the story of my life. Maybe we'll go into details after that. But basically, every job I took, I started as developer and ended as something else. And so this is something I embraced at some point and started doing more and more. And this comes into the different flavors that you mentioned. So I started organizing people and helping them find their way in life or in their career. And this is what evolved into my chief learning officer role. So basically doing one-on-one coaching with colleagues and helping them understand where they want to go and where the company they work for can help them on this way. And for a living, I do this, but I also consult for clients and help them transform the way they work and the way they organize engineering teams. Working in a way called Agile, which is a methodology for creating project structures and organizing people. And doing so, I have been working with mentors, and I have at least as many mentees, or had more mentees than this, and currently have 2 of them with me. So trying to guide them on their way, so a bit more in depth than what I'm doing as a chief learning officer. And as well, I'm on on the stage, trying to do public speaking and sharing my knowledge and love for what I do, pretty much everywhere where I can when the family allows for it.
You started out as an engineer. Did you study engineering in France or in Germany?
I studied in Paris. I was born and raised in Paris, and I studied in Paris and moved to Germany in 2006 when I finished my studies.
Okay, and why did you move to Germany? How did you land up here?
I knew the question was coming.
Well, there's an Expat Live Germany podcast, so...
Yes, absolutely. During my studies, there was the opportunity to do a semester abroad, and I decided to prolong it and do a bit longer and go to Chicago in the US and work for Siemens over there. And Siemens being a German company, there were a lot of German employees there, among which a lot of German exchange students and German students doing an alternate studies. Yeah, basically among all those students, there was one particular student whom I got to know a bit more, and who fast forward 10 years became my wife. So,
oh, hello.
Yeah.
She also an engineer?
She's not an engineer. She's working in finance. But she was working for Siemens and then came back to Nuremberg, where I currently live, or where we currently live, to work back in the job that she already had. So after Chicago, I moved back to France. I finished my studies. I had still 18 months to complete my master's degree, and finished my master's degree in engineering, and then moved to Germany to write my master's thesis. And decided to do this to learn German, because I said, well, if we want to have a relationship that works, I need to learn a bit of the language, because I couldn't speak German back then.
Right.
Just for the story, I had taken German classes in high school, and had decided that I would learn German never again, and dropped German at university and decided to learn Spanish. Which I didn't like at all, but I had a chance to regret this decision afterward and learn German for real.
I think that's a lot of people who start learning German's reaction, where they go, "No, I'm done with this."
I'm not sure if it's about the language, because I can speak it very well now, and obviously I had the motivation to learn. I think the way it was taught was really not something that was fitting for my brain. The teachers were very, how can I say, very, very dull. They kind of went at it the literary way. So really taking care that you make some grammatically correct sentences instead of expressing yourself. And they were kids of the baby boomer kids, and so they were very very impressed by the end of the Second World War and the Berlin the separation of East and West Germany, and so you could pretty much guess every year there was alternatively East and West Germany and the end of the Second World War as a main topic for the whole year, which leaves a very great impression on 14 years old.
Yeah, not the kind of thing you want to talk about. Maybe not even as an adult.
Definitely not.
For prolonged periods of time.
Yeah, and so it's only when I came over here and got to learn the culture that I discovered some bands like the Wise Guys, who are doing a cappella songs, which are very easy to understand.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. Have you seen them live?
I haven't seen them live, no. Did you?
Yeah, they're I've seen them live twice, and then now they're touring. They've changed their name to Alta Bekannter, I think they're called now. It's like the same. I think 3 of the same guys, and I saw them live too. They're absolute riot live. They're really cool.
Yeah, and what I really like is that they are easy to understand. They are really articulating very well. Yeah. And so actually, it's a great songs to learn German with, and they're also quite fun. So yeah, but I never heard this in German class before. That was really something we didn't get to listen to. And the only film that we watched during the 4 years where I had German was the Blechtrommel, which is an absolutely horrific book about a kid who doesn't want to grow up during the Second World War. It was terrifying. Really, as I said, it was the perfect way to learn German and get to love it.
But I think that is the problem with teaching it in a classroom environment, is that quite often the passion is killed because the approach is wrong. And I think it's only when people start to learn German because they're moving to a country and like you said, expressing yourself, that helps, because once you start expressing yourself and start talking about real things, it helps you progress a little bit faster, and it gives you more reason to speak the language.
Absolutely. This is exactly how I learned, by the way. I started my master's thesis working here in Nuremberg for a small company, and everybody was fine with speaking English with me the whole day. So that was really, really gorgeous. When I wasn't one-on-one with someone, we could speak English every time, and it was fine. But during lunch break, that was my dreaded time of the day, because there were something like 15 Germans around the table and one French guy. And of course, the colleagues right and left from me were doing their best to speak English, but all the others were speaking German. And so at some point you hear German, and ha 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 ha, big laughter. And then they look at the French guy and they laugh even more. and it felt so bad. And so after a few months of this, I decided, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And so I took a very intensive course at the local, how do you call that, evening university, for 1 month, just refreshing. Yeah, the Volkshochschule, exactly. And then I flipped the switch and started talking German. I have the chance to be in the IT world where half of the words are English anyway. So I could just start to fake it. Take English words, put a N at the end, and make a funny face and see if that works out. So, for instance, going is gehen. So you kind of pronounce it a bit differently, and sometimes it works. Yeah. Sometimes it created very very funny situations, but it kind of worked. And the idea was really to express myself and to get the point across. And so when my colleagues couldn't understand it, they raised their eyebrows and told me, "No, we don't get it." And when they understood it, but it was really wrong, they told me as such. And they say, "Well, that was really wrong. We understood what you meant, but here's how we would say it." And I would say my learning was, in a matter of months, had plateaued. So there was really a hockey stick, going very fast to a place where I could express everything and everybody could kind of understand me. And then it took years for the vocabulary to come and to expand onto different topics and leave the IT specialty and go over to bureaucracy, for instance, and everyday life.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about the talking in group things, because that for me was also a huge thing, and it still is to this day. I must say, I've been here for 12 years now in Germany, and I still have difficulties if I'm sitting around a table full of Germans, especially Franconians, speaking the dialect or speaking with strong accents, and then they're exactly like you say, they rattle off. And then you lose the path. Sometimes if I lose the path of a conversation, it's very difficult for me to come back into that conversation. Sometimes it's just gone.
Yeah, I remember at the beginning, I had some kind of blackouts at some point. I was even with my in-laws and my family here at a dinner table, and at some point my brain just shut off, and I look at my watch, and 15 minutes has gone by, and I have no idea what happened.
You're just sitting there.
And at the beginning, it happens quite often. It was really exhausting to follow all those conversations and try to understand what's happening and not make some weird misunderstanding. The best one I have in mind is mixing up the word kosten and kotzen. The first one is kosten is the amount that you pay is how much it costs, and the other one is throw up. Kotzen. It's just swapping up two letters, but this can produce very, very interesting results if you mix up these two. Now I can differentiate both of them any day.
So your German is now pretty fluent, though. You said you're pretty comfortable with it.
Yes, it is. I do public speaking in German almost every month, so that's okay. Fine now.
What do you speak at home with your wife and family? Do you speak English with each other, French, German?
Funny that you ask. So we don't speak English anymore. We used to speak English at the very beginning, but when I moved in here to Nuremberg, we decided to focus on German so that I can find a job pretty quickly and be able to stay here. And this has had the impact of kind of brainwashing me until now. And that means when my wife, who speaks German and French as well, speaks to me in French, I'm usually the first one to switch back to German, since I'm used to this thinking in German and staying in German. With my kids, though, we managed to establish this. My firstborn, my son, is 6.5 now, and I really managed to speak with him only in French, which was very very disturbing at the beginning because he answered for 3.5 years in German, and but I kept to it, not without doubts that it would work at some point, but I continued doing it. And one summer when we were in France at the beach in Normandy, I think he realized that all the kids were speaking French and French only, and that's the point in time where he decided to speak French and started to answer in French as well. And so It worked out pretty well. So I usually speak with him only in French, to the exception of when Germans are around, and I think it's important that they understand what I'm saying. So if it's really a discussion between the two of us, even if there's Germans around, I will speak French. But if I want them to understand what we're saying, because maybe there are some hints that they should grasp or think they should react on, then I will switch it to German and talk German to him. And with my daughter, who is 3 now, it's been a bit harder, I think. I'm still not sure why. I still speak a lot of French with her, but I also speak way more German with her than I did with her brother. And I think it has to do with being the second kid and having less time to be patient. With my firstborn, well, we were young. We had only one child. We had time to relax. When one is taking care of the child, the other one has some free times, with air quotes. And with the second kid, that's not the case anymore. Most often than not, then if you don't have kid number 1, you have kid number 2. And so things had to go a bit faster. And I guess I got a bit less patient. And sometimes I switched to German faster just to get things rolling. That said, we continue going to the French school here in Nuremberg every Friday, and we continue speaking French together. And I now realize, now that she's 3, that she grasps a lot of things. So she understands me completely when I speak French, but still answers in German. But I started recently, only recently in the past few months, to incorporate more and more French words in what she says. So it's not a lot, but instead of saying mine and yours in German, she will say it in French. Or instead of saying yes and no in German, she will say it in French. So it's getting there, I hope, and I'll keep on doing it, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I guess it's important as well that she learns to speak French, not only because it's part of your culture, but also I guess she probably has family that still lives in France that maybe doesn't understand German. Or
absolutely, and my family is coming over from Paris quite often. I would say more than 1 or 2 times a year. So she gets the chance to experience her grandparents not understanding when she speaks German, and so at some point it's gonna click. I'm sure.
Yeah. So you were saying your parents still live in Paris?
Yes. My parents and my 2 sisters are still in Paris. with their partners, and the first one has 2 kids as well.
Because I guess one of the great things about being a European expat is that I'm from South Africa, so if I want to go and visit family and friends back there, it's a 10-hour flight with kids and stuff. It's a little difficult. But one of the great things about being in Europe and an expat is that you're pretty close to your homeland. So do you keep quite close contact with your family and friends? You said that they come to you quite often. How often do you go back there and maintain the old friendships and things that you have back in France?
Friendships has been a bit more troublesome. I can expand on that in a minute. With family, it's been quite easy. Paris is 760 kilometers away from Nuremberg. It's a 7-hour drive if I go with a car. It's something like 6 hours with the train and 5 something with a plane. I usually take the train because it's a free time to work or do something else and then be driving. How often do we see each other? I would say 3 to 4 times a year. So either they come over here or we go over there. Every other year we're there for Christmas, and otherwise they come over for New Year. So New Year we see each other at least once, and during the summer quite often as well. So it's not that far. It's quite easy. One thing that was really important though is we jumped on the WhatsApp bandwagon very early. Already when the first iPhone came out, I guess the whole family got equipped, and that was a way to keep in contact, being abroad and having the roaming fees back then, and not being able to send too many text messages across. That was really a very good way to continue chatting the whole day and sending pictures of our etc. And so now the whole family, even my parents who are retired now, or my father is retired, my mother isn't yet, are on WhatsApp and send some pictures as well, and listen avidly about the stories about their grandkids. And so we keep contact like this very, very often, and that is it feels like we're still close to each other, which is very nice. By the way, Nuremberg is closer than some of the back corners of France from Paris. So if you go to Toulouse or the south west of France, it's further away from Paris than Nuremberg. So it's really not that far.
I think the thing with tech these days is that it just makes being an expat so much easier. And I think that's why there's been such a boom in expats, because not only is it easier to travel around, but once you do move somewhere, and some people moved somewhere for 2 years, 3 years, other people move there permanently, but they can just keep in touch, exactly like you were saying. On Facebook, you've got instant connection to see what people are doing whenever. You've got WhatsApp calls, Skype calls, anything. It's just so easy to keep in touch. And quite often it feels like I was even more closer with some people after I left because I was chatting to them on WhatsApp every day or on Facebook. So it certainly makes it easier.
Yes, it does. It definitely does. It still didn't work completely with my friends, though. I've lost sight of most of them. I guess.
Are these your school friends or college friends?
Or college friends. I kept a few school friends as well, but it's quite hard. We exchange a few emails a year, which is still okay, I guess. But the very close friends from college, as soon as they moved away from Paris, it became really hard to see them. Until then, it was quite easy when I was over to just squeeze in a dinner or squeeze in a few hours here and there. But when they moved away from Paris, France being so centralized, it's quite hard to get anywhere else in Paris. You have to go through Paris first and then get away again. So it hasn't worked out as well as I wanted. But I guess that's the way it is.
How has it been making friends here in Germany?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I guess you have to differentiate between Germany and Franconia as well.
Yes,
so we'll start with Germany. I guess it's quite all right. I have I have in my living room the poster from Holsti. Holsti is I think a New York company, and they have written a manifesto a few years back, which was the values of the company, and it starts with "This is your life. Do what you love and do it often." And somewhere in there, maybe you can add the poster to the show notes for the listeners to have a look at it. It says, "Stop looking for the love of your life. Start doing the things you love, and he or she will be waiting you there." Which is a very great advice, I think, and doesn't apply only to searching the love of your life. Searching for friendship is not a thing that you do. You start doing the things you love, and the people that you meet there will be the persons that you end up being friends with. If you have kids, well, that's quite often where it starts. You start spending time with your kids, and obviously you have a lot of fun with this, and you meet parents from other kids, and that's how you make friends. Or you do some sports or extra activities, and you meet people there, and those become your friends. So, on a general sense, making friends in Germany, I think, was pretty much like making friends anywhere in the world. As soon as you get over the language barrier, because there is a language barrier, there is such thing, then it's quite easy. You just have common interests, and off you go. But we have to talk about Franconia.
It's always a separate conversation, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The Franconians are very, very special people. They are kind of very kind of. Let's say special. It's a positive way to say it. First of all, they have an awful accent, which is sometimes absolutely a nightmare to understand. But they are also pretty closed up and are hard to warm up and make friends with. But once you get through this barrier, it's absolutely fantastic, and that can kind of the opposite to the United States way of thinking that I lived through when I was in Chicago, where it was really everybody was your friend until you realize how deep the friendship was, and on the surface everybody was so friendly and so nice, but it was just showmanship. And here with Franconians, it's kind of really the opposite. Once you got through the ice, and somebody is kind of a friend to you, then it's real friendship. That's for sure.
Yeah. But something in between would be nice, you know. Something in between would be nice. Like I would be fine with none of the over the top friendliness and smiling all the time, but you know, just maybe crack a smile once every while.
Yes, you're right.
But I actually must be honest. I do love the Franconians. I now that I've come to understand them a bit more, and also know, don't push. Just take your time, and don't take it personally. I think in the beginning I was taking it very personally when people were just sort of shutting me out as I was perceiving it. But over time, I kind of realized it's not that they're shutting you out. It's just that why must they bother? If why must they bother? So now I've learned just take my time, take it easy, and then eventually, if something's going to happen there, it will, and then there you go. You got a friend.
Absolutely, and I guess the demographics and the internationalization of the world is playing for us in this sense. In my company, I would say half of the colleagues are from abroad anyway, and the Germans who are there, maybe only half of them are from Nuremberg or Franconian or Bavaria. So you really have a big mix and match of profiles and origins. So it's quite rare now to have a big concentration of Franconians around you. Yeah. But I was really helped when I came by the circles of friends of my wife. Because she obviously had a big circle, established circles here in Nuremberg. Because she was born in Nuremberg and grew up in Nuremberg. And so when I came in, I really merged into her circles and got to know basically the partners of her female friends who were studying with her, and some of them became very good friends with me. But I got kind of a head start compared to any other expat, because I got to get into their circles with a trump card, and get a kind of a head start.
How do you see your own identity as an expat in Germany? Do you see yourself as a Frenchman in Germany? Or do you still see yourself as a Frenchman? Where are you with your whole identity?
That's a good question. First and foremost, I have the German nationality now, and being a European Union member, I was able to keep both nationalities. So I still have the French pass and a German pass. And I took the German. I stayed a very long time without the German pass. So I've been here since 2006, and you could have taken it after 7 years. And I only took it in 2017, and that was right after the Brexit, or decision about the Brexit. And when Marine Le Pen, the right-wing extremist in France, was polling so high in the polls for the French election. And I kind of made 1 + 1 and told myself, well, if with some kind of bad luck, the right wing end up in France and start doing some kind of weird things like the Brexit, I would like to say some exactly. I would like to say some bad words, but I'll be kind for your podcast.
I'm trying to not make it explicit. Let's keep it clean.
Yeah, but I could say pardon my French, which would be funny. But anyway,
do it. Say it in French. Let's do it. No one's gonna know.
So I kind of told myself, well, if this kind of thing happened, my wife is German, my kids have both nationalities, I would be the only one to be here without the German pass. And that was kind of the last piece that I needed to take it. And I tell you this way because I think it's kind of the answer to your question. I didn't really want to take it until that point. So I still identify as a Frenchman. I still identify with the country I grew up in, and I only took it kind of as a rational decision at some point to make things easier. When I started speaking with people about it and telling them, well, I'm going to take the German pass as well and become a German citizen, they say, well, of course, you've been there for 12 years already, so you should do it. You've been paying taxes for 12 years, and that's just normal that you take the next step, which was absolutely not the way I felt about it. It's not. I don't feel it like treason, but it was not the way I felt about it, and this has grown on me during the past few years, kind of taking more the ownership of it as well, and not just having it as a guarantee in case something happened in the EU, which God forbids happens, then to be on the safe side with my kids and wife. So yeah. Does it answer your question?
It does. I think there's a lot of parallels with my own experience as well, except we did want to become Germans. We are also Germans. But we had to give up our South African nationalities to do that. And I also had some kind of identity crisis at the time about that whole thing, because you kind of ask yourself, what is an identity actually? Is it a piece of paper that says the country that I'm in? And then, as you've said as well, I've also kind of just forged an identity of my own that happens to incorporate a German nationality. But it is kind of a cool thing being an expat in a country, I find as well. That does become part of your identity, or at least it did for me, because you don't always know the in-depth part of the culture. Sometimes beloved people of the German culture die, and you're like, who was that again? I don't know who that was. And you're always going to be a foreigner in some way, and that's part of your identity. And it's kind of that's something that I've learned to embrace and just make it part of who I am and how I am on a daily basis.
Absolutely, I can understand this. This is something that I loved when I was in the US, and that I've reading on since I'm here as well. Is every day somebody can just hit you on your shoulder and tell you something, and there's a likelihood that you don't understand it.
Yeah.
Either because it's some weird accent from somewhere that you don't get it, or it's because, as you said, there's a reference that you don't get, and this makes life way more fun.
It does.
It's fantastic.
You can see it as making it more difficult, but it's actually part of the expat experience is that kind of the fact that new things and new experiences can happen every day. And it's something that every day you wake up, you've got the chance to learn something that you didn't expect to learn or know. And I find that when you're living in a different culture, it's just magnified. That you can go through a day where the whole day is just a learning experience. And it's part of why I love being an expat as well.
Absolutely, and there's also the point of I'm not sure if you've lived through this already. When somebody comes over to your place, to your hometown or where you live, and you start explaining them things, most often than not, you discover things about your own the place where you live, because you don't look at it with the same eyes as you usually do. This happened to me so often when I went to Paris with some Germans. They started asking questions. I say, "Well, that's a very good question. I never thought about that."
Yeah, it's
and
true.
learned so much about friends. And so this is the same thing. When you're living in Germany, you get some questions about your hometown or your country or your culture, and you start thinking about things in a different way. And this is absolutely healthy.
Yeah, it's something that comes from traveling as well, I think. But the expat is obviously a far more intensive version of that. It's that it just changes your whole frame of reference. And when you start seeing things from other people's eyes, which you have to when you're kind of trying to integrate into a country, then you start seeing things differently, and it's a great thing. I think it's part of the charm of being an expat.
It is.
So. Having said all of that about expats, what you've obviously gotten to know some expats around you, maybe in your friend circles as well, and where you're working. What do you think it is that drives expat? Is it that we've just spoken about? Is there some kind of single element that you see in all of them?
I wouldn't say that there is a single element. There's really a bunch of journeys and a bunch of backgrounds and stories that took people here. One common element that all of them have is they are kind of okay with being uncomfortable with this part of their life. Yeah. It's really something that you have to accept and be ready to live with. I think it's our generation, my generation. I'm a kid of the 80s, so an Erasmus kid for the Europeans who I didn't study abroad, but a lot of my friends did through the Erasmus program. Got to grow up in Europe as European children. And I think it's kind of common in our generation to think about Europe as being normal now, at least Europe, and the rest of the world is slowly getting there as well. And so we're kind of used to traveling and being in these foreign places that don't really feel like home, but are still very nice anyway. And I think it's kind of a common trend to all the expats is this feeling of, well, I'm not home, but that's okay, and I find it interesting as well, and I can settle for life here and have a very interesting life anyway. So I think this is the minimum that all those expats have. But other than this, the stories are so different. Some of them came for work, some of them came for fun, some of them came because of partners like I did, and many more reasons. Some of them came for a few months and woke up 10 years after that and say, what happened? It's really a bunch of different stories, and I don't really think there's a trend there.
Yeah. But that's part of the reason why I'm loving doing this podcast. I've only been doing it a few episodes now, and it's just exactly that. Everyone that I speak to, there's some similar things, or in fact, a lot of similar things. But then there's also the background stories and the motivations and the driving factors behind the decisions to come here and stay here are very different and very interesting. So my last question for you is, what is the single piece of advice that you can give to expats in Germany? Arriving pretty early on, or they're still here in the first 1 or 2 years. What is the biggest piece of advice you have for them?
Does it have to be one?
No.
Okay. So the first thing would be, for somebody coming to it, is to really be open-minded about it. Is whatever, and I guess that's not specific to Germany, but it's whenever you go, just be completely open-minded about everything, and just trying to soak it up as it is, and understand how that came to be for the persons around you, and really try to get things how they happen, and not try to make too much sense out of it. Just try to understand and yes, soak it up at it as it is. Just fit in the mold and see how that goes. And if you decide to stay, I think the biggest advantage I've had so far is the language. I was able to catch up on the language very fast, and my mom is a speech therapist, and we got to see movies from a very young age with subtitles, because she just couldn't stand watching movies where the lips are moving and the words come out differently. She just couldn't stand this, and so we got to see movies with the original sound all the time, and so I have the chance to have a very good ear, and I can speak German with a very local accent. So if I don't say that I'm French, I can go for a few minutes or 10, 15 minutes with people not realizing that I'm not German.
Wow.
So their DDoS will be messed up at some point, but according to my German relatives and colleagues, the Germans don't get it correctly either. So that's fine. But so I can really fit into the mold, and this has been such an advantage and such a bonus in everything I do. Is whenever you show people that you can speak the language, and really that you made the effort to get up to their level, so many doors open. It's fantastic. I've misused this in all the bureaucracy that we have in Germany, which is the German word, by the way, French word, by the way, bureaucracy. But I think German took it to a different level.
The Germans have made it their own. Yeah, they own that now. Yeah. Sorry, France.
yes, they do. So taking my French accent. In the government offices was very helpful. To speak perfect German, but with a strong French accent, was opening every doors I wanted. Really? So I've misused this a few times, but it's really this. It's showing people that you made the effort to speak their language is opening all the doors. And so if you're really want to stay in Germany, make the effort, learn the language, and learn as fast as you can, and show people that you're serious about that, and you will realize that it's the trump card for everything. It's the way to get through the barriers of people and get through to their heart and open every door.
It's funny that you should say you played the French accent card. I've also been known to play the foreigner card as well at times, where if you get caught, maybe forgotten to validate your ticket on the tram or something like that, and the authorities come out. I suddenly cannot speak any more German. I just only understand English. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had to validate that. Yeah.
Yeah. We can have some advantages as well.
Yeah, we have to pull the foreigner
that's
card
fair
every
game.
now and then. Tim, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you? Where can they? You got a podcast? You got a website? Give me the details.
I guess the best hub to visit would be teambourguignon.fr. So TIMBOURGUIGNON.fr.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes as
I
well.
think we should add, we should add it to the show notes.
Definitely.
And there you will find the links to everything else. So I'm very active on Twitter. It's my handle is Timothep, TIMOTHEP. You can find the podcast, of course, on iTunes and everywhere you go. I have had plenty of talks in the past. So if you're into software development, in organizing people, in mentoring and co, there is some talks for me on YouTube and co. And if you want to start up a conversation, don't hesitate. I still have some time between 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. and I'm happy to answer emails and get in touch with people. So don't hesitate. I always do it with pleasure.
Cool. Thank you, Tim, for your time. It's been so interesting talking to you, and yeah, all the best.
Thank you very much. It's been a blast.
One of the things that stood out to me about my interview with Tim was his advice about making friends. Do the things that you love and you'll make friends there. I love how simple this is. And I don't know why it isn't advice that I've thought of before, because it's obvious. It's just so practical. You'll be meeting like-minded people who share your passion. So whatever it is that you love doing, whether it's singing in a band or stamp collecting or discussing books or croquet, whatever it is, do the thing that you're passionate about. Go out, do it, and you'll make friends there, potentially. And I think it's a great place to start. So that was some great advice from Tim. If you want to discuss this episode, join our Facebook group, Expat Life Germany, and do me a favor. If you like this show, tell your expat friends. Or if you know of people who may be planning on moving to Germany, tell them, spread the word. I'd love for you to tell other expats about this show. You can also follow me on Instagram, Expat Life Germany, and on Twitter, ExpatLifeDE. Or you can just go to the website, expatlifegermany.de. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.